Hey, Will King here, High Cotton Homes, and today on the Build Show, we're doing a little bit something different. We're actually at an investment property of mine, and we're standing inside of a halotherapy room. Now, halotherapy, just so you know, is actually a pharmaceutical grade salt that's ground up into a very, very small particle and blown through the wall, which you see in this pipe behind me. And people in the room sit and breathe it, is the basics of it. Now, they're going to have nice chairs in here and cool audio and lights and that kind of thing. That's not the purpose of today's video. The purpose of today's video is talking about dehumidification inside this room. Now, when we went down the journey of installing this and talking to the company where we bought the equipment from, they informed me that the humidity inside the room, especially where the controller is or where the generator is, needed to be at 40 or 45% relative humidity. Now, my response to them was, guys, we're in climate zone 3 in North Alabama. It's very high humidity here, and that's going to be trouble. So I'm glad we caught that on the front end. Luckily now we were doing a pretty extensive renovation to this property after we bought it. So we're in the upstairs. This is a 2-story part that we're standing in. We're in the upstairs, and there's another add-on that was built sometime in the 60s or 70s, looks like, it's a big gable on the main level. So what we did was basically made the room that we're standing in its own envelope. We did that with the basics of spray foam. So we just used open cell foam. We hung the sheetrock ceiling. We foamed it. We foamed the walls, and the ceiling underneath, which is actually the break room, we were able to foam underneath it too, making a pretty good air barrier all the way around this room. Now, on top of that, we utilized a Santa Fe 120H dehumidifier. Now, it's way too big for this space of what you would normally use, to be honest. It's rated for about 3,000 square feet. And this room and then the other two behind me, we're looking at about 1,100 feet in total. So it's definitely oversized for the application, but the way that we have it ran, it's standalone, and it has a controller out here in the hallway. And so it's able to really manage the humidity here, especially when we get into the late summer months when it's so high humidity and lots of traffic. So the rooms behind me are also going to be for estheticians. They're going to have things like hair bowls and hair washing sinks, hand washing sinks, and just a lot of foot traffic in and out. So we felt like it was important to make sure we had enough dehumidification power to be able to maintain that comfortable relative humidity and to keep the salt dry so the machine operates at its best capacity. So we're going to take a look in the attic, and I'm going to walk you through how the dehumidifier was installed as a standalone application, not plumbed in or piped into our HVAC system. It truly is a standalone system. So let's hop up there and take a look at it. All right, so before we hop in the attic, I wanted to show you the thermostat real fast. Now, you can see out here, I have an Ecobee thermostat for the heat pump that's up here, or the gas furnace air conditioner that's servicing this upstairs area. But now, mounted right above it is our thermostat for our dehumidifier. Now, this is the first time I've used the Honeywell Home. It's H6062A1000 if you're interested in that exact model number. But what I like about it, honestly, is that it's a lot cheaper option than the last thermostats that I've used on these dehumidifiers. This was about $80 on Amazon versus, a $200 option that we had been using prior to this one. And for some reason, we've managed to break several thermostats on the dehumidifier somewhere during the installation or storage process. So just knowing that I have to replace an $80 thermostat versus a $200 thermostat is definitely a win. Now, the return for the air conditioner is located right above me, and that's why the Ecobee thermostat is located right here in this hallway. So there is no dedicated return for the dehumidifier. It's actually just in the attic. Now, we spray foam the roof deck like we do in a lot of our builds, and so it's inside the envelope. Now, it's just pulling air from the attic, which is pulling air from where we're standing, and then supplying it back through a supply duct. So there is no return grill in the ceiling like we have for the air conditioner right here. We stacked them side by side, so it'd be easy to maintain. Now, one thing I think is interesting is that the percentage of humidity is different between these two units. So my Honeywell saying 49%, my Ecobee saying 58%. So I would assume that somewhere in between right now. We're actually going to place an air monitor in here to have another reading to try to get more accurate with it. But for the most part, these are within 5 to 10% of each other at any given time. So anyway, I wanted to point that out before we hop in the attic. So we're in the attic now, and you can tell we have open cell foam all over my head. And what you can see right here in front of me, though, is the Santa Fe 120H dehumidifier. So you can tell by looking at it that this is a supply duct coming off the back of it. If you're familiar with how these are installed, it's no surprise to you. But this is the supply side. It goes out to one of the rooms below. The return side is over here. So this bigger pipe is the return. Now, it's just sucking air from this attic that we're standing in. This is an optional fresh air. So if we ever decide to introduce fresh air into this space, we could do that via this intake right here. And if you do that, they also have a thermostat that will control the damper on that fresh air, which is, I've used that on several of our houses. We decided not to use it here because fresh air wasn't as big of a deal. The envelope's not that tight, and this is a light commercial space, but you can bring in fresh air here with a damper and you can control it. So that's what this is. It's actually running as we're doing this video, and it's amazing just how quiet these units are. I mean, I can barely hear it running, to be honest with you. Um, I like the fact that it has an easy to access door on the side and our nice pleated filter that goes in. So it's easy to service. These are great little units to install. We've had good luck with them so far. Our condensate drain is plumbed out of the bottom. Now, it's a gravity fed. Now, some of our other dehumidifiers that we use during construction are actually, they have a condensate pump. But when we use one for a permanent installation like this, we try to not use the pump just to eliminate that little bit more of a maintenance problem. So it is gravity fed. This one's wrapped in insulation, but it actually ties into a vent over here. So it's draining into the house plumbing, which is nice. We have a little platform built so it's elevated, so we have enough fall for the condensate to gravity out. And then also in the condensate pan, there's an overflow drain that goes out the side of the building as an emergency in case we have a failure and this thing starts to fill up the pan to save our ceiling below. There's also a float switch in it, which is pretty standard as another safety precaution. No, we haven't opened this property yet. This is still under construction. But one thing that we have noticed is that having this pipe to just one supply duct has kind of made the two rooms down below unbalanced as far as temperature. So one thing that we're going to do before we open this property is split that and have another supply duct across on the other side of the room, and actually in the adjoining room, to help balance out that airflow and then not have a hotter and a cooler room. So just, again, more balance is the goal. Using these dehumidifiers in your own house in one of your builds is really easy to do. You know, I was very intimidated when I first started using dehumidifiers, but to be honest with you, it's almost simple enough to where you don't even need an HVAC contractor to install it. As long as you're comfortable handling the ductwork, anybody can put these in. The fresh air is also a good option. So if you're building a tighter house like we normally do, having a fresh air intake here for ventilation is pretty critical in your build. So I would definitely recommend looking at that. So we've ducted this as a standalone option, like I've pointed out. And the other way is to actually tie it back into your HVAC lines for better distribution. But to be honest, we have found it to be easier to manage and install to do it just like this. Standalone, it's independent of our air conditioner system. If you tie it into your HVAC system, you have to integrate it with the fan of your air handler. So when this unit kicks on, if the air conditioner isn't already running, it kicks on the air handler, so the fan's running to help distribute the air. Now, as long as you can distribute the air on the supply side of this independently, in inconspicuous places or places that aren't, like, obviously you wouldn't want to put it dumping on top of somebody's bed, but closets are a great option. Mechanical rooms or laundry rooms would be a good place to dump that air. You just have to be a little methodical about where you dump the supply air. Other than that problem, it's a much easier solution to just duct this independently from your HVAC system. All right, so let's talk about cost of this unit. So this unit alone is about $2,000 if you order it from somewhere like Supply House or other online retailers. So that's the cost of the unit. You're going to have a couple $100 in your ductwork. And in this installation, there's not a whole lot of ductwork up here. And then just the labor to install it. So You're going to be looking somewhere in the $3,000 range, roughly, to install a unit like this on your house. Now, if you elect to do fresh air and you add the ventilating control on the thermostat, you're going to increase the cost a little bit. But regardless, it really is a small investment for the overall comfort. And if you ever installed one for a family, the feedback you get is so positive because they love the consistent humidity levels in their house. And this thing really makes a big difference. So we're going to shoot another video in the next few months about how our salt room or halotherapy room is performing in regards to the dehumidification system here and also the ventilation system and how we've worked out all those details. But in the meantime, I hope you're following our new page at Will King Builds. It's our new personal Instagram page. It's a little more casual behind the scenes look at my everyday life and the everyday life at High Cotton Homes. And in the meantime, remember, iron sharpens iron. So keep grinding, keep watching these videos, and we'll see you right here on The Build Show.